UFC Fight Night, Imavov, Cannonier, and we're going to break down a little PFL Europe. At the end, we're going to get you ready to turn a profit on MMA this weekend. I'm Andy. That's Jim. Let's get right into it, guys. We're going to start here with UFC Fight Night, and this first fight really, really has my attention here. We're going to start with Rayanne Amanda and Puja Tomar. Most people probably could care less
Hmm.
about this fight. From a betting perspective, this line has gone literally all over the place, Jim. It was like minus 300, minus 200. Now it's minus 340. And I will let you get started. There is a big overall theme about this fight that we all, as bettors, need to pay attention to. And this fight just fits right into it. So let's talk about Puja Tamar and basically why she's fighting on this card.
Well, we've crossed over from the years of the fighters fighting the ones that are competing for their ranking and their spot to a marketing machine. It's becoming a marketing machine, and that's what this fight comes down to. Puja Tamar is a valuable asset and getting them into the Indian MMA scene, which is a very, very large market, which is an untapped market. We've seen other organizations try to do the same thing. PFL has brought in a lot of fighters from India. They're looking to do events there. They need names. This woman has a massive social media following. What for? I don't know. I
Because
haven't figured it out.
she's marketable. Like I'll tell you, she fought in just these bad leagues. I mean, she got cut from one because she couldn't
Mm-hmm.
win, and then she goes over to this Matrix Fight Night, which is this terrible league, but she wins. Three of them are finishes, or four of them are finishes. She's not bad looking. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got an Indian female fighter who is pretty good on camera, who has some wins over in that market, and that's kind of like a unicorn over
True.
there. Like
Yeah.
there, it's a rarity. I'm not surprised she has a massive social media following. Her social media following is way bigger than some very well-known UFC
True.
fighters that are in title contention. So it's not that big of a surprise for me why she has that big of a following. But anyway, continue.
It just she's very low level is the thing. I guess in looking at it from an MMA perspective, that's where I have my question is why people follow her. But I guess when you have lack of options and she's somewhat marketable, that's where you go to it. Rayanne Amanda got robbed in her last fight. I thought she won it. She's a Contender Series alum. I think she has a way better ground game. Way better ground game. And that's the thing with Tomar. She'll swing hands, she'll throw, she'll be flashy, she'll throw hard, but she has a non existent ground game. A lack of defense. Her fights end. She loses by finish as well. I think this is to get a name out there. I don't necessarily think that they think Tomar can even win. It's just to start getting some eyes on the product and start wiggling its way in there. So, I mean, I like Rayanne Amanda in this spot very much so. The line is starting to reflect it. I think people are starting to understand why this fight is here, what we have going on. It's getting steeper. But I think that they're bringing Tomar in to just tap that untapped market that the UFC needs. They need new markets, they need new fans, and they need new fighters that they can push.
Yeah, you're right. She's not that good. In her last fight, she landed a million leg kicks because she was fighting someone that like refused to throw back, and Rand Amanda is not going to do that. Rand Amanda absolutely won her last fight. Even her opponent was stunned that she won, and the announcers were stunned. But the thing that cost Amanda the fight was she was a little bit tentative. She didn't push forward, even though she was landing the better shots. And I think that was what was so frustrating about that decision was her opponent Alan Carr was pushing forward but wasn't landing much, and
Mm.
Alan Carr was just piecing her up and piecing her up. And then judge is like, well, pushing forward, yelling, raising your hand at the end of the round, that apparently equals winning in some of these bozos' eyes. So it's a great get back fight. If you go to Tomar's Instagram, I'm sorry, there's a battery commercial that to me is laugh out loud hilarious. Like
Mm.
they gave it their best to try and make it look really exciting, and I thought it was one step away from a Saturday Night Live skit. It was it was it was really bad. You're right about Tomar's ground game. I will also add that she's so used to fighting women that don't really punch back that when she throws a kick, her arms, it's like her arms are tied to him and they just kind of drop down here and you're ready for a counter strike. I'm with you. Amanda is the pick, but the theme that we were talking about was they're bringing these Indian fans over, and why not? Or they bringing these Indian fighters over, and they're just not that good. They're really not that good. It's a good time to fade the Indian fighters. But like you said, eyeballs. Jordan Wright got a lot of fights in the UFC and lost them, but they were exciting. And that is, what do we say? If you lose and you're exciting, it's the Sam Alvey factor. That is much better than taking guys to decision. So speaking of taking guys to decision, Cody Stamann fights Taylor Lapilus. Nice segue. To me, the over is such a fantastic parlay piece in this one. It's around minus 350. I don't see how either of these guys finishes each other. You've got Cody Stamann, who
let's forget about that one.
Okay, all right. Like, okay, he knocks out Eddie Wiley and then gets finished by Saeed Nurmagomedov. With all due respect, Taylor Lapilus is neither of those guys. And Taylor Lapilus is, goes to decision with Boshrot, and Kyle Loughran goes to decision. I think it's more of the same. I have no interest in betting on Taylor Lapilus at minus 278. No chance.
Madness.
At the same time, I'm not betting on Cody Stamann, but parlay pieces is just the over. Neither guy has knockout power. Both guys fine on the ground. I wouldn't say they're very aggressive, and when they do get on the ground, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of danger for submissions from either guy. That's my take on this fight. I don't know if you have anything else to add in this one.
No, it's all the same place. It's fight goes the distance, over 2.5 as a parlay piece. It's juiced. I think people are overrating Taylor Lapilus. Like just because you don't like Cody Stamann doesn't mean that Taylor Lapilus should be minus 278.
It's laughable.
You're fabricating line value where there is none. And I'm not in that game. All right. We play line value for a reason. You could have value in a minus 900 favorite. You can. 100%.
Oh, we'll get to PFL Europe.
We're getting there. Wonder why that popped into my head real quick. Look, I have a sneaking suspicion that this could blow a lot of parlays out of the water to start the night. I don't want any part of a side in this fight. At the end, Cody's going to be bloody. Lapilus will get taken down, and all of a sudden, again, we're going to get to that split decision. And you're going to have one bonehead judge that blows everybody's parlays. Unless you're dying for a piece on this, skip this fight. Move on.
We will move on to Eduarda Moura and Denise Gomes. I loved Moura from the very beginning. Line has slowly moved up. I still think she's a fine parlay piece. Then she misses weight. Didn't look great at weigh-ins, but she's used to trying to cut this weight. Here's something. At some point, they're going to tell her you can't fight at this weight division. It's just like your weight cuts are just going to take years off of your career. But in the meantime, when she's going to be that much bigger, 4 inches taller than Denise Gomes and much heavier, and she's got this wicked ground game, I am of the opinion that Moura just mauls Gomes. I really am. We watched Eduarda Moura in her last fight, and it was just, just what she did to Reyes was brutal. And you see, she's a finisher. And you might worry about cardio, but, against Reyes, that's a round 2 finish. Against Claudia Alves, that's a round 2 finish. Back in 2022, she won a decision fight. It was split. I'm not too worried about her cardio like I would be. You see Gomes, Angela Hill has won Angela Hill's won fights recently by her takedowns, which is something she's added it to her game. So with all due respect to Angela Hill, Moura's is a ton better. I think it's Moura. I wouldn't be upset with Moura by finish, but I'll keep it simple. I love Moura to take out Gomes. It's less than minus 200 right now. So you can pretty much take anything. You could do the Stamann Lapilus over and put it with Moura if you wanted to, but Moura is the easy pick for me on this one.
Yeah, you got me looking at Moura early in the week, and the conclusion I came to it is, and with women's MMA, you have to look at somebody who's a specialist. And when you get a specialist, and it's not the top 5, I'm not talking about the top 5, but for instance, when Mackenzie Dern came into the UFC, and she looked like she could take anybody down and submit them and just work them. I think Moura's cut from that same cloth. You know, it's a legit 10-0 as well. She hasn't fought can after can after can. It's a tough regional scene that she was fighting in, and these women have decent records. They do. Tough fighters. And when she gets on top of you, like we're talking about cardio, this leans right into our theory with, again, like the Dagestans. They can be exhausted, they start to wrestle, and their cardio looks totally fine.
It's amazing.
And
every
when
time
she's on top or she's wrestling, I think her cardio is going to look fine. And I haven't seen any improvement from Gomes or advancement. You know, we might look back at her knockout of Yaregi and Brazil and just say, well, it was lucky punches. I still think the Yaregi fight was a lucky punch. The Brunno Brazil fight, that was a good fight. But she clipped Yaregi early, and I think that fight looks totally different if it gets out of round 1. I think Yaregi cruises to a decision in that fight. So, yeah, give me Moura, man. Another sneaky thing is the under 2.5 or fight doesn't go. Line has moved, snagged it at plus money early in the week.
I got to give you credit. You were all over this one. You got it at plus money. Now it's minus 135.
Yeah, I still don't hate it at minus 135. I mean, if you really want to get plus money on it, hey, listen, here you go. Here's a play, guys. The under 2.5, and Cody Stamann, Taylor Lapilus starts round 2. There you go. That'll get you close to even. So, I mean, you could be creative with this card. I would say tread lightly, but be cautious and creative. I like Moura. I think Moura finishes her on the ground.
Daniel Marcos and John Castaneda going to you first here. You got 15-0, Daniel Marcos, 21-6, John Castaneda. What do you think? Can Castaneda take away the O from Daniel Marcos?
Well, what do you always say? These guys aren't going to retire undefeated. At some point, 15's a lot to win in a row. At some point, you got to slip on a banana peel. You just do. So, is this the spot? I don't know. I kind of like Marcos. Not a huge fan. Really don't like Castaneda. I feel like he's very overrated. To me, this is a low-level, close fight written all over it. I don't see anybody getting finished in this fight, to be honest with you. I could see this being a grind fest come start of round 2. Then they use all their big shots in the first round, and then it's going to become just a dirty, greasy split decision. I think that Castaneda can implement the wrestling, but the question is, can he hold Marcos down? I do think that Marcos lost that fight against Grant. That I will say. I remember watching that fight. I went back and watched it again, and it was a split. It was close. I thought Davey Grant edged that out. So, you know, was that the banana peel that he avoided? So maybe he'll get to 16-0. Maybe that was the one he was supposed to lose. Close fight. No action for me at all on this fight. This is going to be a watch and learn situation. And I think, you know, we could have a bet coming out of this on either of these guys. If they lose, they might get a nice step down in competition next fight.
I like Daniel Marcos. I'm ready for him to lose. I am. I just don't think this is it. John Castaneda does not do a lot of damage, and I just have been watching these judges give these fighters the rounds, regardless of what they do on the ground. I watched. Who was the female fight where there were Eileen Perez won a round with one punch?
Oh yeah, yep. Back fist, the spinning back fist won the round.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what I like about Daniel Marcos is his punches do damage. Mm-hmm. He doesn't throw a lot of volume, but when he does, man, are they effective. You get aha moments, you get damage. And here's the thing about this Arichi Lang fight: he was beating the shit out of Arichi Lang. Arichi Lang got the gift of all gifts, a chance to get out of that fight. Here's an unintentional groin strike. Me and my swollen and bloodied up face are out of here. I'll take that no contest. So this should be 16-0. Make no mistake.
True.
Daniel Marcos was working him over. So Castaneda, in these fights that he's won, if you want to do something funny, just go take a look at his last 2 wins when they're standing there. Before you hear the decision, try and guess who won. I bet you can't, because they both look the same. There's no damage done to Castaneda's opponents. Daniel Marcos, he can put it on. He can put it on the opponents. That's why I think he lands the harder strikes, and that's what judges are looking for. these days. So it's Daniel Marcos for me. I talked about it earlier in the week, and now people are starting to agree with me. Money's coming back in on Marcos. He's down to minus 125. So can't say it's a super. What's that?
You think it goes the distance?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Over 2.5 is minus 270. Again, over in a fight like this, over 2.5, might as well just take it to go the distance, because it gets over 2.5, you're gonna get there. So, also, guys, just want to remind you, when we're going over these videos, we want everyone to profit, but we also want everyone to be very responsible. We are not betting every single one of these plays that we're doing. When we record these videos, we try and give you guys opinions on all the fights. Our plays that are official, that we bet with our own money, we will tell you on this video, and they're also on wagertalk.com. So those are the records that we go by. So if you guys want to throw in a bunch of parlays based on our picks, like, more power to you. Absolutely. But please be responsible, and just know that we are not betting every single thing that we talk about. So I just want to give that little caveat, is practice good bankroll management. And I will tell you, this card kind of worries me for a lot of bettors. I think people have done fairly decent over the last couple of UFC cards. This one screams, like you talked about, this one screams Cody Stamann by split decision wrecking parlays. There's a few in here that I think can trip people up. So just word of caution on this one. So Andrea Lee and Montana De La Rosa. I mean, Jim, over. Is there anything else we do with this fight?
No. I got nothing else. Yeah, over.
Just take the over.
I do think De La Rosa looked really good at weigh-ins. I thought she looked really good. She looked very cut. She looked like she put on a little bit of muscle. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get Andrea Lee out of there. And Andrea Lee is notoriously tough. Notoriously tough. She can take a beating and keep on going. And, look at even her stoppage win over Cynthia. Cynthia quit on the stool.
Yeah.
Like, that happens. She beats Shevchenko. She gets caught in submissions all the time. De La Rosa is a tough grinder, and this is going to be a grind fest. So the over 2.5, that's a piece. You could use that. I don't mind. We were speaking earlier. If you have a really, really close line that you're not quite comfortable playing, this fight over 1.5, probably a great little parlay piece to get a little more value. This is going to be a decision. It's going to be an Andrea Lee fight. It's going to be a De La Rosa fight.
Yeah, both of these women are really tough. Tatiana losing by choke out to Tatiana Suarez, that's going to happen. Nice ground and pound win against Lipski, but that was kind of
that was old
good
Lipski.
Lipski, the improved Lipski. And then the other interesting thing about Andrea Lee is, you're like, well, she's on a 4-fight losing streak. I mean, Vivian, Macy Barber, Natalia Silva, Miranda Maverick, terrible matchups for her. Like, really, really tough matchups. So, I don't
know who she got mad at her in the matchmakers, but they're throwing her to the wolves these past.
The KGB, I don't know, man. I'm with you. I'm not really sure, but overs are the way to go in this one. Brad Katona and Jesse Butler. It's classic Brad Katona week. Where you just look and you go, well, normally it goes the distance, and it's minus 250 over 2.5 rounds. Brad Katona's the overwhelming favorite. He should be. Jesse Butler's really terrible. He got knocked out 23 seconds to Jim Miller, so he gets this other chance. And okay, Jim Miller, fine. He was making his UFC debut. He rushes in. He gets caught. He said, well, he's 12-5. He's fought bunch of nobodies. He likes to try and get takedowns. They're not very fast. They're not very good. They're not going to be effective in the UFC. And his striking is pretty rudimentary. So he would have to have made a lot of improvements in the last year to keep up with Brad Katona here. And we have fun kind of at the expense of Brad Katona. But I got to tell you, man, he looked good on The Ultimate Fighter. His fight against Cody Gibson was awesome, and I thought he won against Garrett Armfield. That being said, it was a great fight. Garrett Armfield looked fantastic. Brad Katona looked fantastic, and that was another fight where the judges were like, hey, Brad, congratulations on your control. Not only are we not going to count it, we're going to penalize you for it, which is my pet peeve. And I'm going to go on a rant here when we're done with breaking down these fights about how not only do they not give you credit for control, but they also penalize you for it here. So, but yeah, I do not hold that loss against Garrett Armfield, and I think we even said I can't wait to bet on Brad Katona in his next fight because they're going to dock him for that, and you get a layup here with Jesse Butler. Any way you like Jesse Butler in this one, or is this just a Katona all day?
No, I can't bet on Jesse Butler. I don't think he belongs in the UFC. But a lot of happenings in this fight. So like you said, the overwhelming consensus here is Brad Katona by decision. Okay. What would you say before about you feel like people might get slaughtered on this card?
This is one where I just think I think Butler literally gets slaughtered. I think he gets
slaughtered. I think this is going to be a Brad Katona submission out of nowhere. Jesse Butler, first of all, Jesse Butler's cutting down to 135. Okay? He's fought as high as 170. He looked sickly on the scales today. His eyes were different sizes. They were bugging out of his head.
His eyes were different sizes.
He looked like Brad. I love you, Brad. Love you, Brad. I do. I love you, Brad. I would not be shocked to see Jesse Butler just gas out beyond belief in the second round after Brad Katona has picked him up and dropped him a couple times, and we get a Brad Katona finish by sub. You know, let's not forget, Brad Katona submitted Bryce Mitchell, but way back on The Ultimate Fighter. He's a grappler. You could even put that version of Bryce Mitchell against Jesse Butler, and Bryce Mitchell submits Jesse Butler in about 2 minutes. So, if we're, comparing apples to apples here, I think Brad can sneak a submission. Brad by submission is plus 400. By finish is plus 200. It's tasty. Do not go big. It is a sprinkle play if you feel like playing it. But I don't have much confidence that Jesse Butler can go 3 rounds, especially in the UFC where he doesn't belong. He just doesn't belong. I don't think he's knocking out Brad Katona. If Brad is anything, he's tough. He's always been tough. I don't think he's submitting Brad Katona. The fact that Jesse's so much taller is going to lend to Brad getting underneath his arms for the takedown so easily. And Brad's gas tank will hold up into the second, into the third. So, love Brad Katona in this spot. It's a faded Jesse Butler. Do what you want with the method, but the line's baked out now with Katona. He's in the 600s, but yeah, we really like Brad in this spot.
Real quick, guys, if you guys could please hit the like button, leave us a comment, tell us who you like. Love the comments from last week. A lot of really good winners. Tell us what you think about this card. Be interested to see what everyone's best bet is for this one and who everyone likes, because I bet comment section's gonna be all over the place with who everyone likes. Let us know if you agree or disagree. Really, really looking forward to see what you guys have this week. So let's visit our good buddy Carlos Prates facing our other good buddy Charles Radke. For you and I and people that follow us, this fight is just a lot going on here. I'll let you go first here. Charles Radke and Carlos Prates. What do you make of this fight?
I looked at this fight instantly and said, Carlos Prates. First reaction. We talked about it last week. Kind of changed my tune a little bit. I worry a little bit about Prates surviving the ground for 3 rounds. The conclusion I've come to this fight is not going the distance. These two guys were not happy with each other at face-off. Best face-off of the night. Undoubtedly. Best face-off. They're going to swing. They're going to go at it. This is going to be a car crash. I think that Radke's plan is going to be to stay in Prates' face. Now listen, you better move your head, Charlie Radke. If you're going to stay in Carlos Prates' face, you better move your head. But we've seen finishing ability from both of these guys. Everybody's getting on Charlie about the Blood Diamond fight, and I get it. It wasn't a good showing. But you got to keep in mind, he traveled, 14, 17 hours to Australia to take that fight?
He said he was not in good shape. The weight cut was bad, the travel. It was just not he was not in good physical shape for that one.
And he looked way better in his next fight, so I believe it. I don't think it's post-fight excuses by any means. It was more like get in there, get the win, and get out, That Gilbert-Urbina fight, as soon as we saw Urbina, we were like, something's up. Don't look right. I was big on Urbina, and I was terrified when I saw him. And he did what he had to do. He's got heavy hands. I think the length of protest is going to be a bit of a problem if this is on the feet. And I think that if Charlie can't get this to the ground, he is going to expose himself to be finished. So this fight not to go the distance has my interest. I'll probably have this with something as far as a parlay piece. But other than that, I'm not going to play a side. Too much volatility on either. But if I had to pick, I lean protest still. I still lean protest.
Yeah, you chalk up last fight. You just hope that it was nerves. You know, he gets the win against Trevin Giles, but man, he was losing until he wasn't. Giles was was all over him, and then left the door open and bang catches him with an amazing. It was nice to see the ceiling of what protest can be. So I hope he brings it here. And if he does bring his ceiling fight here, Radke's in trouble.
He's in trouble. Yeah, he's in trouble.
Thiago Moises and Ludovic Klein. What do you make of this one here, Jim?
I have had a fantastic read on Thiago Moises. I've had him pegged for a while. He's one of my guys. I can predict when he's going to win. I can predict when he's going to look minus 1,000. I can predict when he's going to drop the ball as a favorite. I think this is the ball drop coming. Ludovic Klein has looked like a new fighter. I don't want to speculate.
Now, why does Ludovic Klein
look at that structure
so
on his profile picture?
Different.
He doesn't look like that anymore. Those biceps and triceps and shoulders. I mean,
A little more swollen, a little more peaked.
Where did that neck go? He doesn't have that neck anymore. It's gone. He's looked fantastic. I don't think Thiago, and this is my handicap with Thiago, I don't think he's a very good nail at all. He's kind of a front-runner fighter. If we go down his record and you go to his wins and his dominant finishes, they're not against great guys. They really aren't, especially regionally. Mitch Ramirez, he stinks. All right, Mitch Ramirez stinks. Benoit Saint-Denis, again, you want to talk about a good nail, Benoit Saint-Denis can take it and dish it out. And he destroyed him. Costa, not really a dangerous fighter.
Well, Costa, this was his UFC debut that he took on very, very short notice. So take that for what it is.
Christos Giagos, you guys all know how I feel about Christos Giagos. He's an easy W for whoever wants to fight him. And I was all over Joel Alvarez because Alvarez is a marauder in the first round, and Thiago couldn't handle it. Islam, again, a marauder. Gets him out of there. Just grinds him. So I think Ludovic Klein has a real shot to get a great finish and really catapult himself up the rankings in this fight. So I'm going with Klein here. I liked it at the beginning of the week. I still like it now.
Yeah, this fight against Baja Mondays was where we were all like, oh, something's up with Ludovic Klein. Where did that come from? He takes out AJ Cunningham. He does his job. He should have whooped on Cunningham, and he did. One of our favorite things to do is to bet against guys coming off of banned substance suspensions. But boy, if you can bet on them while they're currently on the banned substance, that is an advantage not baked into the line. And we're not making accusations. We're just saying it's a pretty strong feeling that we have in that one. So, Budale Soriano and Miguel Baeza. Looking at the lines right now, Baeza is minus 205 against Budale Soriano. And Soriano's moving down a weight division. I never know what to make of these like power punchers that are like, well, we're moving down a weight division. I don't know. I don't like either one of these guys. I think it's probably an easy pass for me, so I'll go to you. Do you have any opinions on Soriano and Baeza?
Fight doesn't go the distance at minus 360 is probably one of my favorite parlay pieces.
Okay.
Either Puna made an absolutely atrocious decision to move down in weight, and Baeza's chin is as bad as we all think it is. Look, Baeza's been doing a lot of grappling too, and Dustin Stoltzfus exposed this supposed wrestling base that Puna lately has. I don't believe it for 1 second. I believe it's junior college in Hawaii that he wrestled. Like, that's not really a wrestling base. That's very generous to say that he is a wrestling base. And he never really uses it either. I mean, Kopylov smokes him. Dustin Stoltzfus smokes him, grinds him out, tires him out. That was a great live bet. I believe we live bet that fight when Puna was just gassing.
It's easy when you see Puna gassing, it's over. The fight's over.
The killer with the real killer is that he moves down to 170. You expect to see a size advantage, and Baeza is huge compared to him. 2-year layoff for Baeza. A lot of stuff could go wrong in this fight for both sides. So I think that minus 360 no distance is a great parlay piece. I will not be playing a side in this fight.
Okay, all right. My favorite under is Julian Marquez and Zach Reese. This is my favorite under on the card. You have Julian Marquez, who doesn't seem that interested in. I mean, he's interested in fighting, but he seems to have other things on his mind, podcasts and such. He just comes out guns a-blazing. And so he gets the win against Maki Patolo. Congratulations. Knocks out Sam Alvey. Congratulations. And then gets smoked by Rodriguez, gets smoked by Mike Andre Barrial. And he's just feast or famine, man. He's going to come out and go balls to the wall. If he doesn't get you out in the first round, he's done. You got Zach Reese, who's been in 7 fights. None of them have been out of the first round. He's raw. He comes forward. Good, pretty good submission game against against some other guys, but so against Cody Brundage. Yeah, he loses to a slam, but it was a big mistake that he made. Like, you've talked about it. Like, when you get lift up like that, you kind of go limp. Just let yourself go limp. Don't pull up and let Cody Brundage put your head through the mat. So regardless of whether Zach Reese makes a big mistake, regardless of whether Julian Marquez goes balls to the wall and gets the finish, or he gets tired, regardless of Reese pulls off a submission, all signs point to an under in this one. So this is my favorite under on the card. I don't care who wins. Just make it fast. Your thoughts?
I'm right there with you. Right there with you. I can't trust Zach Reese. I would want to play Zach Reese by finish because I think Marquez, the injury history and the outside influences of other things that he's got going on, that's all red flags that I like to bet against. But Zach Reese, I think, is just an absolute fraud at that 6-1 record. And it's not like he's young either. He's 30. It's just the IQ isn't there. The defense is most certainly not there, period. And I spoke about this last week. Defensively flawed fighters, I do not bet on. I just don't. So, yeah, I mean, this fight not to go the distance, maybe doesn't start round 3. I don't see how either of these guys make it to round 3, to be honest with you. But if anything, it's probably going to be Reese going for something early. And if it doesn't happen, I can see Marquez finishing him. So,
yeah,
it'd be Reese early, Marquez a little bit later.
Up next, we'll talk Bruno Ferreira and Dustin Stoltzfus. It's kind of interesting with Dustin Stoltzfus here. So he fought Abus Magomedov, got train wrecked, and then he fights a guy kind of similar in Soriano, where Soriano just comes in guns a-blazing. Well, Stoltzfus minds his P's and Q's, kind of stays away, and then bang, all of a sudden there's a rear naked choke. So I'm looking at Bruno Ferreira, who is pretty much the same as Abus and Soriano in that he just comes in guns a-blazing. So he gets the craziest win against Gregory Rodriguez with the weirdest counter shot that has knocked somebody out. Rizaboyev just trucked him with one punch. I mean, that was a D-cleater. If it was football and he got it like that.
It's the hit stick on the old Madden, right? Yeah.
It's a D-cleater. And then he knocks out Phil Hawes. I mean, congratulations. So I have a sneaky play in this one. You're probably going to laugh. Over 1.5 at plus money. I think Stoltzfus minds his P's and Q's. I think Stoltzfus dances around the outside and says, no, you're not laying in the big one. And if you do, I'm going to clinch up. I'm going to try and take you down and tire you out. I think this is a sneaky one that goes the distance because I think Stoltzfus now kind of knows how to kind of extend against these big power punches. This third fight in a row with a guy that is going to come forward and try and knock his head off. So he's had experience with this. Stoltzfus live bet is probably my favorite live bet on the card. I guess you could probably say Baeza as well, but it's the exact same theory here. Let the power puncher tire themselves out. If they get the knockout, oh well. If they don't get it and they start to get tired, then you're on the other guy. So what do you think about my over 1.5? Silly?
No. I like your over 1.5, but what I don't like is the fight to go the distance.
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think Brunno is gonna make it. If the over 1.5 hits, it's probably gonna be Stoltzfus finishing.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe 4 minutes into the second. I don't believe in this Bruno Ferreira guy one bit. I have stamped fraud on this guy from day one, from since we watched him on Contender, since he came in. It just, that knockout that he got against Gregory Rodriguez, I think is an absolute fluke. It was a lucky punch. It just happened to be two guys coming forward, and it was a car crash. This was my most surprising face-off at weigh-ins. Stoltzfus is bigger.
Hmm.
Didn't see
Okay.
that coming. I did not. I think Dustin is going to push the wrestling, and he's going to push it early. Now, if that's the case, the live bet might not be. You're going to have to be quick on the trigger in this fight, which is always scary. But if you see Dustin pushing the wrestling early in this fight, boy oh boy, do you got to get on him, because he is going to zap this gas tank of Bruno Ferreira, which is probably only good for about, his power is probably only good for 5 minutes. I don't see him knocking Dustin out in the second or the third at that point. And at that point, it's going to be Stoltzfus. The Stoltzfus plus 3.5, if you feel like it is going the distance and you think Bruno could survive, love it. Love that number. Yeah, I like Dustin here, man. And coincidentally, I showed Andy, I got an email from Stoltzfus Construction Company this week.
Oh, we should have pulled that up. This
I
is
should have.
amazing.
Yep. I got an email from Stoltzfus Construction, so I said, it's got to be a sign. It's got to be Dustin, right? So, I mean, check your lines. I'm going to be interested, small plays, but I'm going to be interested in the round 3 and the round 2 for Dustin. That's something I might make pre-fight at a very, very small bet if we get some really good numbers. But other than that, it's Stoltzfus for me.
Moving on to Raul Rosas Jr. and Ricky Turcios. I had a little bit of an opinion on this fight, and I got to be honest, I have changed my mind. So I want to hear from you, Jim, and then we'll go over what has changed in my mind based off of an 8-second video clip. And I know it sounds silly, but we've made things like this work for us in the past. All right, what's your take on Rosas and Turcios?
I'm very interested to see what this is because we have not talked about this. I wonder if we're going to land in the same spot here. I think there's a reason why this fight has been rebooked. It was canceled, it was offered, it was declined, and then it was rebooked. We've seen this story before. We just talked about this with the Haley Cohen matchups the other week. Okay? When they want a fight to happen, they go, no, you're not getting anybody else. This is the guy you're fighting, or you're not fighting. And I think they kind of backed Ricky into a corner here. I have real questions about what's going on above the shoulders with Ricky Turcios. I've listened to a few of his interviews, and I think this guy's a little out there and maybe not too in touch with reality. Wasn't there a staph infection question as well in the first fight? He had a staph mark. They wondered if that was going to happen. Then Rosas pulled out. It just kind of is the writing on the wall that they might want to get Rosas this fight no matter what. And as far as the total goes, I don't know. I think Rosas has enough cardio to make it to 3 rounds. I wouldn't be shocked if he locks a sub up early, but I have 0 bets on this fight so far, so I am very interested to what you have to say.
So I'll go through Rosas here. We watched him on Contender Series. He gets the win against Mando Gutierrez. He had to get a permission slip from his parents to fight. That is a real thing that happened. Is he had to, his parents had to give him permission to fight. I still can't believe they did that. Can you like think about this? You get permission. Okay, so he does what he's supposed to do. Jay does what he's supposed to do there. Goes way too hard, too fast against Christian Rodriguez. Um, and then almost gets to finish the first round, but then Christian Rodriguez just does a cagey veteran performance, which we've seen
He
Christian
just did.
Rodriguez do now
Yep.
multiple times. Terrence Mitchell comes out, balls to the wall crazy, gets the striking, thing. What I hated was his interview in the ring after the fight. It was batshit crazy. He said something about Uncle Sam and taxes, which it was like, are you old enough to pay taxes?
I remember
Who
this
told you
now.
to say
Yep.
that? There's no way there's no way you came up with that yourself. And so immediately I just kind of had all kinds of questions about it. And I just said, I don't trust this guy if he can't show me much maturity. And then I saw him at weigh-ins today, and I loved what I saw. He was very cool, calm, and collected. He had a smile on his face until he stepped on the scales, and it was all business.
Mm-hmm.
He looked not over anxious. And I go back to this Mando Gutierrez fight. I went back because I had remembered that we had said this. He takes direction very, very well. He's one of these guys that listens to his corner. And in that fight, you heard his corner talking to him, and he like body triangle around Mando, looking over to his corner.
Yep.
Like you said, Alex Morono can't even do this. Guys that have been in the UFC 10 years can't even do this. I think his fight against Christian Rodriguez was a real learning experience, and I think Terrence Mitchell is just absolutely terrible, and it was an easy win for him. You said it, that there's a reason why they rebooked this, and you're right. Turcios is out. Not only is Turcios kind of out there, but he hasn't fought in forever.
No.
When is his last
2
fight?
years?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, November 2022 against Kevin Nativi Dodd with split decision, loses to Zahabi. I just really, really liked what I saw in just that small clip. I'm not saying I'm a reader of auras, but I can tell when somebody's kind of calm, and I loved Rosas. So I went from wanting to stay away from Rosas to I will love to bet on him. I think he rolls in this one, and I think knowing that he listens to his coaches, I think they're going to have him cool, calm, collected, and dialed in this one. I think Rosas rolls. So that was
What is
change.
Ricky going to threaten him with? That's the big question. The only
if Rosas
if you
gasses,
think he's going
that's
to be
it. That's what he's
exactly.
hoping for.
So if
That's
you
what
think he's going to be calm, cool, and collected, he's probably going to have position and be looking at his corner and what do I do? Where do I go? Do I go for the submission? And they'll be telling him keep the position, win the round. So yeah, it's interesting that we ended up on the same side there with Rosas. Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm with
All
you,
right,
man.
guys, we got two more fights to break down, and then we'll do a little PFL Europe here. Dominick Reyes and Dustin Jacoby. Jim, do you think Dominick Reyes' chin holds up? Because if it doesn't hold up, fight's over. So it's kind of what it comes down to.
There's only one way his chin holds up.
If Dustin Jacoby doesn't hit him.
That or, again, it's post USADA. We saw Nico Price manage, 15 minutes with Pillow Fist Marino, and he still got wobbled. So was that Marino or was that the extra sauce? Who knows? This is just, I can't with Dominick Reyes. I can't. I think his chin is gone. His interview, I wanted to talk about this. His interview at Media Day was a little disturbing to me. He's one of those guys that you look at, and I feel like you're starting to see a little bit of the CTE coming into effect. He seemed very foggy. His answers were not concise. They were not sharp. He couldn't cut out a clear answer. He kind of stumbled over his words, and you could see him relying on his short-term memory kind of as he was going. And I'm no doctor. This is just what I saw. On the flip side, Dustin Jacoby, even though he's not a young man, he's excited. Like, his interview was upbeat. He was pumped. He was ready. He said, if I get a big win over against Dom, I'm in the mix. 205 is an absolute mess of a division. Like, we're just running out of people here.
In the mix for what?
They all say it.
You're 1-3 coming in.
Well, he spoke about, how Menafield he goes, why couldn't Menafield fight me that way? Because then I would have clipped him like Olberg did. And spoke about Olberg very, just looking at the division. Dominick Reyes is just starving for a win.
They're both starving for a win.
There's two things that worry me about Reyes, and this is where it's different. Jacoby's starving for a win, but I've read multiple articles, first of all, going through the injuries that he suffered in the Yuri fight. His face was broken.
Yeah,
in the
you're
Yuri
right.
Fight. That's hard to come back with. Then we find out that he had blood clot issues, and the doctors were saying, listen, we have to check you every day. Every day. Because it could be a problem. Now you're going to get in a cage fight? I hope I don't want to see him take leg kicks for 3 rounds. I don't. I don't want to see him take a beating for 3 rounds. I hope this is quick. I hope he can ride off into the sunset. I really am starting to like Jacoby in this spot. I think he's going to get Reyes out of there. I just think he's done.
I like Jacoby the person. Honestly, Jacoby the person, I could really get into as like, I don't think he would be great a commentator, but I would like to listen to him like post fight, break down some fights, and just kind of, I like him. At the same time, I've kind of had an okay read on him. Like we were all over him against Olsaychek and Down Jung, and that Khalil Roundtree fight. I'll give him that. It was razor thin. Like that could have easily been a win. The Kennedy Nzechukwu, I got to tell you, I thought it was a very early stoppage. You go back, yeah, he put Kennedy down, and then he jumped on top of him and he hit him in his forearm twice, and the ref jumps in and stops it. Kennedy's like, yo, Dana, could you book me later on the card? I'm fine. Like, I got put down one. It was such an early stoppage. Menafield, I don't know, losing to Menafield, not great. I got to be honest, though. I went back and watched that. Benefield's got to beat up at the end of that one. I'm not totally sure he lost that one. So let's just say that Khalil Roundtree, he squeaks out, and Menafield, he squeaks out. We've seen plenty of fighters where they're on the right side of these weird, decisions. Then think of how much a career changes. I'm with you on Jacoby against this one. I want nothing to do with the Dominick Reyes business.
No.
You're just not going to convince me that. I mean, I know about the John Jones thing. Fine, whatever. You're not going to convince me that you take that much damage against Yuri, and then you get power jabbed out by Ryan Spain, who, by the way, has looked terrible.
Oh, bad.
And so, I mean, dude, you want to talk about dodging a bullet, not having to face Olberg? You would talk about getting chin checked. Olberg versus Dominick Reyes? Yikes. So
again, booked twice. Is this a Haley Cohen? Booked twice.
I don't know. But right now, Dustin Jacoby's minus 238. It is a pretty penny. Yeah. The books are kind of on this one, so you are going to have to pay a big price. But then I look at the flip side and you go, well, is there value on Dominick Reyes at plus 195? And I go, absolutely not. Your last win was against Chris Weidman. So, and that was 2019? Lots happened since then. So, no, it's Jacoby or nothing for me. You're right. I don't want to see him take much damage, but I fear this is going to be – it's not going to be as bad as the Tony Ferguson situation they have going on right now. But, yeah, it's that all day. All right, Jared Cannonier and Nassourdine Imavov. I'll make this quick. I don't want to see this fight. I could see myself not watching a minute of this fight if I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Jared Cannonier is 40, and he's coming off of, what is it, a meniscus?
MCL.
Something in his knee. We haven't seen him in almost a year. You got Nassourdine Imavov, who I could not be less interested in watching an Imavov fight. It does nothing for me. Betting on this fight does nothing for me. I will say that over 4.5 rounds at minus 130 is stunning. Who finishes who in this fight? These are just guys where Cannonier is, he's certainly not a finisher now. He finished Derek Brunson. Great. Then you got to go back to 2019. Well, that was when he was in his mid-30s. So he's not finishing guys, and Imavov is definitely not finishing someone like Jared Cannonier. Cannonier's got the cardio. He can go 5 rounds. I don't put too much into finishing Ian Heinisch and Edmund Shabazian. So it's over or nothing for me. And it's probably nothing because I just don't want to have a bet when I'm watching this fight. It's a horrific main event. It's a terrible main event.
Mm-hmm. Imavov by decision. Don't like either guy. Horrible main event. This fight's going the distance. If it starts round 3, it's going the distance. There's not going to be a late finish. Both these guys are going to be tired. 40-year-old coming off an MCL. That's a recipe for disaster. Imavov, if he's up on points, he will cruise. I love when they ask for, you've been critical. People have been critical of you. Are you going to try to finish the fight? He goes, I'll do my best. Translation? No, I'm not. I'm going to win on points like I do every fight. No bets for me here, but I think Imavov by decision would probably be my favorite bet. I don't think anybody gets finished. And I don't know if Jared Cannonier, coming off the injury, the size difference, big height difference for Imavov. He fights long enough to where that could be a huge problem for Cannonier. Huge problem.
Cannonier's got the reach, though, doesn't he?
He does, but the
It's
leg,
crazy.
I think the
Cannonier
reach on the
was
legs is
weird.
going to be an issue.
Yeah, okay, the legs, yeah. But I will give Cannonier this. He's done a damn good job against some other guys that you would just think, oh, he's going to cruise in that one. Also, I do want to point out, Sean Strickland took this fight on very short notice, and Cannonier barely squeaked it out. I actually thought Sean kind of won it, but so. All right, so that is UFC. We're going to get to PFL. Can I just do my little rant here?
Go right ahead.
If you're going to penalize guys for ground control, just get rid of it in the UFC. The situation where we're giving fighters rounds because the other guy did nothing with his takedown is absolutely laughable. Jim, if I'm fighting you and you take me down and you lay on me for 3 minutes and you don't do anything, that means I didn't do anything either. In fact, I did less than you. Why are we giving fighters rounds like that? And I'm also one of the things I'm talking about is this Kopylov and Almeida stand-up where Herb Dean is just clapping in the face of Kopylov as he's earned the takedown. Is he doing a lot with it? No, but in my opinion, when you're controlling a guy, not letting him get up, and you're doing some things, I get that the crowd is yelling and screaming for you to stand them up. There were two reasons why they were yelling and screaming for them to stand them up. One, we just watched a Grant Dawson-Joe Selecki fight. And two, all the money was on Cesar Almeida. That's why the crowd was yelling, stand them up, is because the only way that they were going to win that bet was if they should Cesar Almeida up. So we watched a crowd literally talk the ref into giving their fighter a chance to win the fight not because they were bored with the action, but because they all had their money on Cesar Almeida. So if you're UFC, just get rid of it. Just say there's no takedowns allowed, because this where we control guys and penalize them for it is the most ridiculous thing. It makes no sense to me. And you know who you see it from the most is people complaining about is people that have bets.
Yep.
On him. Like the people that complained about the Cesar Almeida not being stood up was people that had bets on Cesar Almeida. Like, well, he did nothing for it. Like, well, what did your guy do? Nothing. Like, did nothing for it. That's my rant. Just get rid of takedowns if you're going to penalize people for it.
We spoke about this. How do you think George St. Pierre would do in the UFC today?
Oh, my God.
We talk about him as like one of the greatest ever. No,
you
they'd
wouldn't
hate him.
stand for it.
They'd be begging for anybody to beat him and take him out of the championship reign. It's bad. Matt Hughes. Like, if you're in somebody's guard, but you're active, that's okay. That's okay. Anybody who knows grappling or is interested in grappling, you know that you can do damn good work from somebody's guard. And not for nothing, it's the most dangerous that anybody on their back is going to be. So your chance for a submission is more. It makes no sense, man. And I get what you're saying. It's having the crowd influence what a referee is doing is weak. You're a referee. You've refereed many sports. You ever let the crowd influence the call? Nope. Can't do it.
Not as something like that. I mean, like if you would have, I guess if you would have told me that, oh, I've let a couple calls here or there because the crowd's screaming, but I've never given a fighter an outside chance to win when he didn't absolutely deserve it. So no, just it's so, I don't know. I was so frustrated by some of that, and it's not just that fight; it's an ongoing theme. So I mean, I had money on Kopylov, but that was just like the pinnacle of I can't believe Herb Dean is clapping in the guy's face when he's advancing. How do you know he's not setting up a submission? How can you possibly tell that? So
what they really should do is just bring back the yellow card for stalling, like they do in Pride. The guy on bottom.
Okay.
That would make it more exciting, because then you know what? The guy on bottom can't sit there and hold you, because that's what makes it boring too.
I love
Almeida's holding on for dear life.
Well, that was the other thing. Like, Well, what are you doing to win this round, buddy? Uh, so, all right, that's it. So, hey, leave me a comment. Tell me if I'm wrong on this one. I just like if it's in the rules, then don't penalize people for it. Like what some of these fighters are doing is absolutely 100% in the rules. So just don't make it a rule. Just say if you take somebody down, you stand them up like in bare knuckle. We can have a bare knuckle. We can have another bare knuckle league if that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk PFL Europe. Very bettable card. Our official play is going to be at wagertalk.com. What I have up at Wager Talk, guys, is we just put a weekend pack up there. It's got our UFC best bet. It's going to have our PFL best bet. We've got a couple lacrosse plays. We've got a cross-bar parlay. So one price is going to get you like 5 plays. Absolutely smoking deal. So take advantage of that at wagertalk.com. I could go through all the list of we're number 1 in this and we have winning records. I'll just say this. We kick ass.
We're doing good.
We're winning. Yeah, not a lot of people can say that. So, I will start here. Let's pull up the PFL card and let's start with Savannah Marshall and Marilla Vargas. I will let you go into bigger detail as to why Savannah Marshall is going to win. Can you guess the physical attribute theory as to why I think Marilla Vargas is going to lose? I've been on this. I haven't brought it up in a while because we haven't had any candidates, but I'll just say it. Marilla Vargas's boobs are too big.
Thought you were going there.
They're too big.
It was that or the teeth.
She does. No, it was no. It's her boobs are too big. It doesn't work in MMA. She cannot move around like Savannah Marshall's going to.
You can't have the big old knockers. You can't.
I'm sorry, you can't. We've seen this over and over and over again. Yep. So I will let you get into the more technical part of this and the storyline behind it. But Savannah Marshall in the main event should win this one.
I like your breakdown better. We can just roll with that. We don't have to.
Well, I mean, it's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
We've been right a million times. Mm-hmm. But for the hardos, let's give some actual breakdown.
So Savannah Marshall is being brought in because there's no opportunities left in women's boxing. She decided to make this move to PFL. PFL reached out to her, said, would you be interested in crossing over to MMA? Reason being, drum roll please, who is PFL's big signing? Clarissa Shields. Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields fought 2 years ago. Okay? They are just trying to find anything they can do to give Clarissa Shields a fight because Clarissa Shields is not good at MMA. We just saw it in her last fight. She's not fit. She came in heavy. She looked horrible. They want this rematch. So much so that Savannah Marshall called Clarissa Shields and asked her to fly to the fight, to watch her fight. This is the most obvious promotional build. It's the main event, guys. This woman is 0-0, and it's the main event. Do we have to explain this anymore? So Savannah Marshall is going to probably look horrible, but still destroy Vargas. She's 1-2. I watched her 3 fights. They're not good. They're in bingo halls. The girls she's fighting are just those finishes. She got smoked in those fights. The girl she finished was not a fighter. Yeah, it's just bad and lost worse the second time.
And it was only a few months ahead of time. It was it didn't go well in July. Maybe it'll go better for us in November.
Yeah, that's an odd situation. It's the rematch there. So this is a setup fight. I wouldn't be shocked to see Vargas take a dive. One good body shot, she hits the ground. The PFL knows what they're doing. They need Marshall to win. Big size advantage. It's Marshall. It's Marshall.
I just have to point out that Clarissa Shields almost lost to Kelsey DeSantis.
Yes, she did.
She almost lost that one. It was really awful. Let's go through a few of these here. Jim, I'll let you just pick a couple fights that we can go over because it's not a very entertaining card. Nobody's heard of most of these people. So, just start picking a fight.
Yeah, on these cards, guys, we want to stick to small, maybe 2 plays max on these because a lot can happen. Jack Grant and Charlie Leary. Jack Grant took the champion to his limits last year. The Lazy King. That's his nickname. I'm not even going to try to say his real name. split decision, very close fights, really showed fantastic defensive grappling, got out of a ton of chokes. A ton of chokes. He's fighting Charlie Leary. You guys want to take a guess what Charlie Leary did his last fight? He got absolutely nuked in the first round by Yancy Medeiros. Yancy Medeiros. And I was telling Andy, that last fight, he got beat every way you could in that round. He got dropped, he got knocked out, and then he got submitted. All in one fight. All in one fight in one round. Jack Grant is going to absolutely wreck this guy. It's going to be a first-round finish for Jack Grant. Great parlay piece as far as that goes. That's all you got on that one. I don't think Charlie Leary has a shot. We're going to skip the McGrillen fight. These are all prospects. The Shanna Dyer fight, me and Andy both agree. This is a sketchy one, guys. This is a
I would
sketchy
not
one
be
here.
laying the juice on Dyer. Like,
Yeah.
if you're looking at parlay pieces, this is the big stay away on this one. Dyer,
Yeah, big
I'll
one.
take this one. Dyer's a striker. Then she came out to weigh-ins, and I was like, she's really skinny, and her
Yeah.
arms have absolutely no muscle on them whatsoever. And her opponent looked pretty game. And her opponent can take people down. I've seen it. And Dyer is a boxer and a striker. This would not surprise me at all if Dyer ends up on her back a few times, and all of a sudden you got a big parlay buster. I'm not betting it, but we talked about Dyer as a parlay piece, and then you and I looked into it a little more, and we were like, nope.
I'll pass. Better spots. Abramov, this is his toughest fight to date. I still think he wins. No bet for me. We'll move on from this one.
Okay.
Let's move on from that. I don't even want to talk about it and give a thought. We're going to skip over Willing. We're going to go to this Lizzie Gevers fight. This is going to be a sketchy women's fight. You could probably take this fight to go the distance. I don't think that Lizzie is going to finish. The only thing is Carolina could gas in the third. Really not too much meat on the bone. You want to go to an absolute slaughter. We're going to go to Kakarov right here. He is going to absolutely destroy this poor Tomas guy.
This tank engine? What the hell
Perhaps
is the
my new
tank
favorite
engine?
nickname. That could be my new favorite nickname. Thomas the Tank Engine. Beautiful.
This is like here in Indianapolis at the Indy 500. We still have Carb Day, which like nowadays we go Carb Day. Like what is it? Full of potatoes and rice. Like no, it refers to carburetors. Like they haven't used carburetors in race cars in 40 years. Like, keep going.
Old school. Karatanov won the season last year. He's going to make mincemeat out of this kid. This kid has only fought in the Nordic scene. Nordic scene, not exactly a hotbed of MMA. Huge size advantage the other way. This is going to be over pretty quickly. I would say round 2. So, I mean, Kakarov's minus 850 now. You could parlay him. Don't hate it. Keep going down. Skatizi. Let's talk about Skatizi. Skatizi just fought Dakota Ditcheva. It's, as you can see, not a knockout, a doctor stoppage. And if you go back and rewatch that fight, she showed absolutely zero fear. She ran across that cage, and she knew, I'm either going to take you out or you're going to take me out. And this girl that she is fighting is 43 years old with no power, does not have anywhere near the firepower of Ditcheva. So Skatizi is going to walk through everything that she has to offer. She's going to get this fight to the ground. She's going to win with ground and pound and a submission. And this fight probably will not go to distance. So I love Skatizi as a parlay piece. You're going to have to parlay on this fight, guys. There's not going to be many money lines. I think that was pretty much it that we went through, right?
Yeah,
the rest of them I don't have a big interest.
I mean, you have a guy that's 3-0 fighting a guy that's 0-7. But other than that, yeah, I think it's pretty good. This fight starts at noon on Saturday. So
keep these in mind with UFC as well. If you're looking to build a safe parlay, you can use these as a little bit of a piece to get some lines better. But tread lightly. Not too many plays on PFL Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us again. Hit the like button, leave us a comment. Tell us what your best bet is. Tell us if you agree or disagree with the giving a fighter a round when the other guy takes the other person down and, quote, does nothing with it. Drives me up the wall. So let us know what you think. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. We will be live on the YouTube channel Takedown Live tomorrow. I believe it's around 5 o'clock Eastern. And join us for the very first fight because that's the Tomar fight. This is really, really interesting. to see how that one turns out. So good luck on all your plays. Remember, don't overextend yourselves. Practice good bankroll management. Join us tomorrow, and we'll be doing live bets, in-fight wagers if it presents itself. I mean, man, Stoltzfus.
Some good ones, man.
Stoltzfus and Baeza. Come on, man. Give it to us. Give us those good bets. So, Jim, great job as always. Good luck, guys. We'll see everyone later.
See you Saturday. Good luck.